What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I got some updates for you today. A few of them, and so I wanna just jump right into it. So let's go ahead and do that. Excuse me. So yesterday there was a report put out that there was an update to the number of coronavirus cases within the NFL, right? So originally it was 72, or at least of the most recent reporting that I had given you, the number was 72 from the NFLPA. Well, they put out yesterday that it was 95, right? And it was like that for a little while, and then all of a sudden there was this correction to that, and they changed it from 95 to 59. So okay, well, right off the bat, on its face, to me, if I'm just being honest, it seems a little strange, right? When you just read the headlines that, oh, they changed it from 95 to 59, and then you notice that they just flipped the numbers, right? Instead of 9-5, it's 5-9. That makes it seem a little bit strange. And then, but that leads you to ask the question, well, why? Well, let's get into that, right? So the NFLPA reveals 59 players have tested positive for COVID-19 at some point ahead of training camp. Okay, so before, let's note, though, that they had said that there were 72 players in the previous reporting, right? And that was days ago now, like last week, in fact, I think it was. 72 players. That's what the NFLPA had said before. Now they're saying 59 players. So that's kind of questionable as well. How are you going to say that prior to it was 72 players and now all, which, you know, it obviously not training camp, so that would qualify as ahead of training camp. And now how come it's dropping to 59? That doesn't make sense. Even if they're better and they're, you know, or never had symptoms and they're testing negative now, it doesn't take the fact away that they were a positive test or a positive case, right? So why is that? Why are you dropping it from 59 or to 59 rather? So let's hear what they got to say. Progress is being made between the NFL and the NFLPA, but they still have one or two key issues to hash out in order to have training camps around the league begin as scheduled. One of the main issues was players' uncertainty with COVID-19 protocols, which led to many of them locking arms in virtual solidarity to voice their angst and threaten no football if their concerns weren't addressed, attaching a hashtag we want to play hashtag to the grievances aired on social media this week. Let's also note that, you know, they agreed to daily testing, but only for the first 2 weeks of training camp. And if the positive percentage is less than 5%, then they're going to drop it to one every other day, a test every other day. Now at 72 players testing positive, that was 2.5% prior to the start of training camp. Okay, so that's still below 5%. But I would venture to guess that it would probably rise rather significantly when you bring everybody together, and also because you were bringing people together in hotspots in the country. So, but you know, so keep that in mind though. As the witching hour approaches for veterans to potentially report on July 28th, the NFLPA has released figures regarding how many players have tested positive for the coronavirus at some point this offseason. In their initial release, they noted a total of 95, but have since adjusted it down to 59. For those who would presume possible manipulation of the numbers, the NFLPA says that's not the case, but instead that the initial head count of 95 accidentally included more than just players. Okay, first of all, stop right there. Stop right there. The number shouldn't include just players to begin with, because it's not just players. What, did the coaching staffs and the support staffs not exist? Are they not people? Are they not virus carrying, petri dishes? No. So let's be clear. The number should include all cases of people connected to the NFL. So that's, to me, just more bullshit. Like, it's sounding like a bullshit excuse to me, and it sounds like they are in fact trying to manipulate the numbers so that way they can have the appearance that everything is better than it is, so they will convince people that they should keep going because, hey, look, we're within our limits and blah blah blah, right? So okay, but whatever. This is what they say. The previous number included all known positives across the league, including staff, and has now been updated to include only players. The NFLPA clarified in a follow-up tweet. Why? But that's proof that they're manipulating the numbers. They are literally telling you they are manipulating the numbers. So they are saying the previous number of 95 included staff members which are directly connected to our franchises and our organizations in the buildings. But we are not going to count them. That is number manipulation, because they're not telling you the full picture of all of it. But I mean, we know it. So there's currently 95 cases across the entire NFL. To be clear, it's fine to say that number includes both players and staff members, which is important and relevant information, but it's also important and relevant information to know that there are staff members that have tested positive. Why would you ignore that? Why? That's like the dumbest fucking thing in the world. So they are lying through their teeth, saying that they are not manipulating the numbers, because in their own statement, they're telling you that they're manipulating the numbers by saying that they are not counting positive cases just because they're not actually players. Like, what the fuck? All right, you get the point. In a separate and official press release, the NFLPA made it clear it is unwavering in its attempts to keep players as safe as possible. I mean, it's laughable. It's fucking laughable. To anybody with fucking 2 brain cells that can see the bullshit, it's fucking laughable. And I mean, look, at the end of the day, unfortunately, unions do a lot of good things, but certainly not anywhere near enough. And unfortunately, there are too many unions with leadership in particular of those unions, executives and whatever of those, and board members of those unions. Police unions are another example, that tend to fucking, side with the business end of things more than their actual constituents and the people that they have to fucking, their union members. Because it's often the case in which we've seen here, the players don't agree with the league and all that other shit, right? And they want far more stringent protocols, etc., and they're just being given breadcrumbs, right? Because the leadership of the NFLPA is agreeing to shit, right? So anyway, our union has been pushing for the strongest testing, tracing, and treatment protocols to keep our players safe. Obviously not. The statement reads, the testing protocols we agreed to are one critical factor that will help us return to work safely and gives us the best chance to play and finish the season. Okay, but stop right there. They got testing every day for the first 2 weeks. But clearly, they're showing they are manipulating the numbers. Before training camp started, it was at 2.5% of players, right? They said if it stays below 5%, they're going to drop it to 1 every other day. Okay, but they just told you that they are going to manipulate the numbers to not include the staff that are going to be around these guys, but only include players. Okay, so that means that they did not do everything, because what they should have done is they should have pushed harder and said, either you give it to us. First of all, there are still a bunch of issues that are not settled, including, the financials for these players. But as safety goes, it should have been all or nothing for them, because they're risking lives. Okay, so it should be either you give us testing every single day for the entire fucking season, or we don't agree. We're not going to let you do some bullshit half-measure shit where you say, okay, we'll do it for a few weeks, and then we're going to drop it if it stays below this percentage. And hey, guess what? You're also going to help us do that by making sure that the numbers are manipulated, so that way staff members are not counted and only players. So that way we can give off the perception that we're meeting these protocols, and then we can relax them, so that way we can continue to ensure that this machine just fucking churns on and profits roll in. God, it pisses me off so fucking much. Anyway, let me move on. Rookies began reporting to several camps around the league this week in some capacity, but were and are required to undergo COVID-19 testing before they're allowed to enter a team facility. A new round of protocols agreed to by both the NFL and NFLPA also establishes how frequently everyone in facilities would be subject to testing, basing it on a tiered model, and the NFLPA's site that notes how many players have thus far tested positive this offseason also notes there are 24 of 32 infectious disease emergency response plans still under review from NFL teams. So, I mean, and that's another thing. 24 of the teams don't even have adequate response plans to the half measures that are being agreed upon. Like, it's just a joke. With only 8 approved and additional issues such as the sharing of revenue loss still pending, and with less than a week ahead of the scheduled July 28th camp start date for veterans, there are many around the league who wonder if training camp will begin on time. It's certainly possible, but the clock is ticking. I mean, like I said, bro, it's just a joke. I got more to give you guys, so I'm going to jump right into this because I'm already at about 10.5 minutes, and you guys know me, I tend to rant. There's so much to fucking say, and I'm like the only one that says it. So, you know, I try and keep things as short and concise as I can, but there really is a lot to talk about, and I got to put it out there for you because I got to keep it real with you guys, and I got to give you the real and relevant information. All right, but anyway, moving on. So, the NFL has also some additional protocols that they have put out. The NFL players have reportedly been given some strict new travel rules for road games in 2020. Due to the coronavirus outbreak, the NFL has been forced to make some unprecedented changes for the 2020 season. They haven't gone anywhere near far enough. Real quick, one thing about the NFLPA, and to that I forgot to say. Either they should have been like, either you give it to us all, or we're going to make sure there's not a fucking season. That's what they should have fucking said. That would have been showing real strength and really fighting for the safety of your players, instead of fucking just agreeing to bullshit fucking half measures that they will then subsequently help to manipulate in a way that they can fucking achieve those measures successfully when that might not actually be the case. Let's see. For instance, one of the biggest changes that you've probably heard about is that there's not going to be a preseason this year. Of course, there will also be a bunch of smaller changes, and some of those have to do with all the new rules that players will have to follow when they play on the road. For the 2020 season, the NFL will be doing its best to make sure players are socially distanced at all times while on the road, and to make sure that happens, the league has implemented multiple new rules that each player will have to follow while traveling this season. I'm just going to say that, and we're going to get to another protocol here in a minute regarding masks, but it's impossible to enforce. Flat out impossible to enforce. Especially then when you consider, like, if they're traveling on planes and buses, like, okay, if you're in a plane, for example, I don't know if you guys know this. I'm sure a lot of you do. Some of you probably don't. But it's recirculated air. It's not like you're getting fresh air from outside. So even if you are, 6 feet apart, everybody is 6 feet apart and wearing masks. If somebody has it and fucking takes off their fucking mask for a half a fucking second and breathes it into the fucking air, it's a wrap. It's done. That's why the bullshit that they were talking about, team buses, they're going to have to be at 50% capacity. It doesn't fucking matter. What do you mean? What? Retarded. I mean, yeah, okay, fine. At least on buses you can have windows open, but it's still an enclosed environment, and it, like, it's absurd. It's just, anyway. So continuing on, for the 2020 season, the NFL will be doing its best to make sure. Yeah, blah blah blah. Read that. As far as social distancing goes, here are a few rules that will be in place this year. All right, well, let's see what the rules. Masks required while traveling. Okay. Again, impossible to enforce, because look, at the end of the day, if you want to take a fucking drink, you gotta fucking lift your fucking mask up, right? If you're gonna eat, you can't eat through your fucking mask. So there are going to be times when people are gonna have to. It's impossible to enforce. There is no way you can enforce it. Buses at no more than 50% capacity. Again, it doesn't fucking matter, dude. Like, at least one open seat between passengers on the plane. That's it? At least one open seat between passengers on the plane. That's far worse of an environment than the bus, because again, at least on the bus you can open windows and maybe it'll fucking, go outside before it hits other people inside the bus. Probably not, but maybe that's a gamble where you probably have a higher probability of being successful. But on the fucking plane, it's recirculated air. And you're going to tell them, wear masks, which is impossible to enforce. And you have to have only one seat in between people. Oh my God. But of course, because they have a bunch of people that they got to fit into it. And so it would be impossible to properly social distance. No use of public or private transportation to or in other cities. I mean, that goes without saying, I would think, but I mean, all right. It looks like players around the league better get used to wearing masks because they're all going to have to wear one while traveling for road games this season. The second rule on that list means that teams are going to have to quit the caravan on game day. Okay, for the most part, it generally takes 3 buses to get an entire team from a hotel to the stadium. But if buses can only be half full, then it means it will likely take a few more. Wow. So it already takes 3 buses to get all of those people to the fucking stadium. And then they're going to have capacity it. So that means which still likely won't even fucking work. And then... So then they're gonna have 6 I mean, Jesus, good God, dude. Like, it's just a fucking clown show. Because then, of course, that creates other, like, logistical issues, traffic issues. I know that's, like, not even on people's minds. But I think about these things, right? Because all they're doing is just creating a myriad of wild and ridiculous problems to try and solve already existing problems that they likely will not be able to solve or prevent anyway. Like, it's just, it's ridiculous. The third rule on the list isn't surprising at all, while the fourth rule is notable. Wait. The third rule, in other words, the at least one person between passengers on a plane, isn't surprising. Okay, but I don't know if you guys have ever been on a plane, but 1 seat in between people is not 6 feet. It's not even close to 6 feet. 6 feet is the guideline for social distancing. Stay the fuck away from me to create a, like, what fucking planet do people live on? Like, it's ridiculous. So, not surprising that they're gonna tell you to have, like, maybe 2 feet between you? No, it should be, hey guys, what they should be saying in this is, hey, okay, they have 1 seat in between, but that's not enough because that doesn't actually meet social distancing standards. Because it means players are only allowed to travel in the transportation has been arranged by the team. For instance, no one will be taking an Uber from a hotel to their favorite restaurant. Okay, and that helps, but I mean, look, man, ad nauseum I say it, people never listen, and then they find out the hard way. So the 4 rules above should be pretty easy to follow, and that's because most teams will be able to monitor their players. I mean, that's absurd. That's absurd. Pretty easy to follow? Wow. However, with the 3 rules below, things could get a little dicey. Oh, wow. There's 3 additional rules that could get things a little dicey. It wasn't dicey before. It was perfectly cool before. Oh man, I can't wait. So let's get into this. Let's see. And that's because players will have to monitor themselves. Here are the rules that could potentially cause a few issues this year. No leaving hotel to go to restaurants open to the public. What does that mean? No leaving hotel to go to restaurants open to public. What the fuck does that mean? Okay, no room visits by anyone outside the traveling party. What does that mean? Because do family members I'm pretty sure family members are actually included in the traveling party, for example. So if that's the case, there's no restrictions or guidelines on their family members. So if they come into contact, so if their family members come visit the room and they've got it, then boom, there you go. No use of shared hotel facilities, pool, gym, etc. Okay, I mean, I think that goes without saying. But again, how do you fucking enforce that? I mean, how do you enforce it just from even walking around the hotel? Like, literally just from walking around the hotel because they don't want to, like, you know, just sit in their fucking room the whole time. Like, anyway, these rules might seem simple, but if the NBA has proven one thing so far, it's that even the simplest rules can be broken. There have been at least 2 players so far who have had to go into isolation for breaking simple rules. For instance, Kings center Rashawn Holmes left his room to pick up a food delivery, which ended up being a problem because the delivery took place outside the NBA's bubble. But, oh my god, dude, impossible to enforce. In the NFL, a player inviting someone up to their room the night before a game could mean that players end up in isolation. Basically, if a player doesn't want to risk missing a game, they're going to have to eat in their hotel, not invite anyone to their room, and not use any public amenities at their hotel. Okay, stop though. How do they do that? Because they just said that going to pick up food from his hotel room was a problem. Okay? But what else? Because then food delivery can't happen, right? But they still have to have, so then they're gonna have to get room service. That means have somebody coming to their fucking room. God, it doesn't make any goddamn fucking sense, bro. It's impossible to fucking enforce or control. As you're probably aware of by now, the 2020 season is going to be one unlike any other. Yeah, because it's not going to fucking exist. Because they are going to push this issue. They're going to bungle their way through it with half measures and other bullshit because all they care about is their fucking money. They're going to force the issue. They're going to have massive outbreaks, problems, and ultimately end up having to cancel the season altogether. And then it's just going to end up being a giant fucking shit show as it already is. Anyway, there is one final thing that I want to talk about. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get into that. Because the NFL is putting out a lot of mandates and new protocols today. So good for them, right? You know, I mean, none of them are anywhere near adequate, but okay. I mean, I guess they got to say something to convince people that they're doing something. But here we go. Here's the next report. NFL announces fans will be required to wear masks to games amid pandemic. How do you enforce it? Impossible. You can't. There literally is just no way anybody could argue that you could enforce it. Because again, if you take a drink, if you eat, you will have to lift your fucking mask. Like even simple things like that. I mean, it's impossible. It is just flat out impossible. Fans attending NFL games will be required to wear masks in stadiums this season amid the COVID-19 pandemic. League spokesman Brian McCarthy confirmed this Wednesday. Also, let's note, though, that they still intend to have fans in stadiums at hot spots in the country, like in Florida. So, you're going to test all the fans? I mean, I know they're going to do, like, temperature checks, I think, to fans. I think they said they're going to do. But that's not going to be enough. Even testing probably wouldn't be enough. Even if you just flat out tested every person that walks in the stadium beforehand, which would, of course, cause massive logistical issues. Even with decreased stadium capacities, it would still take forever to get into the fucking stadium. Like it's absurd, right? So that's not going to happen. But even if it did, it still would likely make it in. Like The Athletic's Daniel Kaplan reported on, but look, again, bro, listen, at the end of the day, people hate me because I'm so negative, because I just simply report the fucking facts and the reality of things and give you, you know, realistic evaluations based off of that information. And people always get pissed at me, and it's been like this my whole life. I try and fucking tell people ahead of time what's happening, and they get so mad at me, call me this big know-it-all, all these other things, but then it happens. And then they're like, all shitty about that. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe you should have fucking listened then. Whatever, dude. We don't have much longer to wait, though. It is the 22nd. 6 days from now, everybody will be back in camp. And they're already showing that they're trying to manipulate numbers, etc., etc. So it's just a joke. The Athletic's Daniel Kaplan reported on July 1st that Kathy Lanier, the NFL Senior Vice President of Security, was part of a group working on recommendations to limit the spread of coronavirus at games. Mandatory masks were referenced as a possibility. As a possibility? As a possibility. That should be an absolute guarantee. But again, no way to enforce it. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found the usage of cloth masks could help slow the spread of the pandemic. Many will argue that letting fans into the stadiums, even with mask and social distancing guidelines in place, would be a mistake. It would be. There's no argument, man. The number of confirmed COVID-19 cases climbed to start the summer after states relaxed their coronavirus-related restrictions. And the pandemic is only going to get substantially worse as we move through summer and into the fall and winter. The NBA, WNBA, MLS, and NWSL all moved their operations to a neutral site in order to stage games without fans. MLB, meanwhile, will hold a 60-game season while prohibiting fans from individual ballparks. The NFL has yet to take a similar step, and Kaplan reported on June 23rd the league would let individual teams set their own capacity limits based on orders from state and local officials. Fucking disaster, bro. The Atlanta Falcons, for example, announced Wednesday their plan to have up to 10,000 to 20,000 fans inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the upcoming season. The team averaged 71,601 fans for its 8 home games in 2019. Kaplan noted the NFL's revenue could fall by more than $3 billion if the league were to hold a full 16-game regular season plus the playoffs in empty stadiums. And that's the most important thing. They don't care about anything else. It's about that $3 billion that they stand to lose. And that's why they're saying, instead of giving a sweeping mandate, they're just saying, hey, we're going to let you guys decide. You guys decide. Give it based off of your local and state governments. But in Florida, for example, we know that Ron DeSantis is a giant douche and is not giving two fucks about the fucking people of his state and is saying, full board, go ahead guys, do your thing, because all we care about is the economy and the stock market and making sure that business as normal. God, it's a fucking gross just joke, and it's a disgrace. But that is the world that we live in. So welcome to the world that we live in, y'all. Look, I give y'all guys the warnings. Most people don't like to hear it. People call me too negative and this, that, and the other. Look, I gotta say, man, I wish I had more friends. I wish people liked me more, but I am not gonna let popularity or any of that shit, anything superficial, get in the way of me telling the truth. And I'm going to do it fervently. I'm going to do it passionately because I care about these things. And because I care about humanity and the planet and people's lives. I care about, the Black Lives Matter movement going on right now. I care about, student debt relief and healthcare for everyone. All these things, right? I care about these things. So I speak passionately. And if people don't like it, well, so fucking be it, because I'm not going to stop and I'm not going to change and I'm going to keep pushing, because there has to be people that continue to push hard. Otherwise, nothing ever changes. So with that, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comments section. And of course, as always, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.